All right. Well, thank you for being with us today. We are excited for our partnership between Pro and MBIA. And we have Paula Baylor here, who is architectural sales consultant for TW Perry. And it has introduced us to this apprenticeship program. So I'm going to turn it over to Paula. First, however, I want to do a few announcements. We want to thank our premier sponsors, TW Perry and Ferguson, and our gold sponsor, Barron's Lumber. And remind you all, if you haven't, to take a look at Education Day. That's coming up September 29th. We have a great lineup of speakers and presentations, and we would love to have you join us. So Paula, if you don't mind, she is going to be our moderator for today's discussion, and I will let her introduce who her panel is and how you guys want to handle questions, or is it more conversational, or would you prefer them to put them in the chat?
Well, I'm Paula Baylor, and I'm the chairman of MBIA's Apprenticeship Committee. And today we have George Brown with us and Brennan Morrison. George was an early signer on for hiring an apprentice, and Brennan was one of our very first apprentices. So we'll get to hear from them also. I'm going to give you a little bit of background on the apprenticeship, so you have the baseline of where we're coming from. Then we'll hear from George and Brennan. Maybe Mike can throw in too. And then if anybody has questions, please, we'll leave time at the end for you. So this apprenticeship was built by remodelers and custom builders. We talked about these shortages, we lamented it for years, and then partnered with the Department of Labor to build the very first residential carpentry apprenticeship in the state of Maryland. And as far as I know, we are still the only one. It's a 3-year apprenticeship. You hire the employee to work for your company, and then you register them with MBIA, who is our sponsor, that they'll do the paperwork for you with the state of Maryland. And now your apprentice is an official apprentice in the state of Maryland. For 3 years, they're going to work 2,000 hours per year on the job training. And we've created a roadmap of skills that they need to accomplish over those 3 years. So many hours of cabinetry install, so many hours of tool and safety, so many hours of learning how to build stairs or framing. And then we have a technical training, which is an online training, and they complete 144 hours per year through Penn Foster. And again, we help to put together the curriculum so it would be specific to residential carpenters. So it starts out with 20 hours of soft skills where they learn how to be a good employee, communicate professionally in a text message or an email, when to call in and call out. And then it builds along that line. So they learn tool safety, terminology, job site mathematics, all the way through till year 3, when they're starting to learn a little bit about estimating and understanding Excel. So it's really a progress that they can quickly, as Brennan will tell you, move forward. And while we're saying that it's a year-long program, once they complete their 144 hours and however long it takes them, they're done. Most of the apprentices are doing this on their phone. So it's a mobile friendly, do wherever you want to be, wherever you need to be at the time. Suggest that you're connected to Wi-Fi because it does take a lot of data. And that apprenticeship or that technical training costs $750 per year. But the first year is paid for by a grant that we have with the state of Maryland. So we've been awarded an extension or expansion grant that helps us grow the program, and that helps pay not only for their first year of tuition, we can get them starter tools, help them out with boots and safety equipment, and to get them on the road to success from the very beginning. At the end of 3 years, they receive a certificate of completion and should be considered a journeyman. And that certificate is nationally recognized. So for the employer, what's in it for you? You're building your own workforce. You're starting with bringing a person in to teach them the culture of your company and train them the way you want them to be trained. There are tax incentives that you can get through the state of Maryland on your income tax. You do need to be a member of MBIA. And Carrie, I think, will address how that crossover works with Pro. For the apprentice, all they need to be is 18 years old or older, And we, I like to say, come with more enthusiasm than experience, because we'll give you the experience if you put in the work. They do need to be able to have reliable transportation to get to a job site. That seems to be the number one thing employers want. There is also an opportunity to bring in high school students, a 16 or 17-year-old, with less demanding on-the-job training hours. This is also available to somebody who's already an employee of your company. So if you have a laborer on your team right now who wants to advance their career, this is the roadmap, and we can give them credit for the hours that they've already worked for you, up to 1,000 hours. So we'll help you with recruiting, or most of our apprentices have come through the employer actually identifying them themselves. But if you need assistance, the state of Maryland and our website, marylandapprentice.org, will help you recruit. Let's see, our program is also scalable. The state of Maryland, when they helped us build this, they helped us learn how we can transition to other trades. So if you're a roofer, or if you're a painter, or if you have some other specific residential trade, we can tweak our program to bring your apprentice in, and they'll be part of our apprenticeship also. So at this point, I want to throw to George and ask George why he got involved, what's the benefits he's seeing out of this, and any other insight being an employer of an apprentice.
Yeah, thank you, Paula, and thank you so much for all your work with this program. I tried to do something like this on my own for a couple years. We started like a training program internally with our company, got other people on board, and just found we didn't have the staff to keep it going. Like we didn't have people to check up on the apprentices and really, check off that they had been completing all of their tasks. And we were lacking that kind of independent learning, the like online or classroom learning that you see in like the commercial apprenticeship program. So the other issue I was seeing was just retention. Like, we always needed help, right? That, our lead carpenters and carpenters needed people to come and work with them and help them, but people weren't sticking around. They'd stay for a couple months, they might stay for a year, and then they were moving on somewhere else. So I think part of that is because they didn't have any sort of roadmap or see any future in what they were doing. They'd come, they'd help a carpenter set up, coil up his extension cords for him at the end of the day, do a lot of cleaning. And then they come to me and they'd be like, is this all I do is clean, on job sites? So I think having them as a part of an official program where they actually see what they're doing and how it plays into the bigger picture is critical to retention and keeping these people around.
Technical training kind of gives them the jump start, because they're green, they're walking on a job site, and the technical part is giving them terminology, giving them tool safety, giving them a little bit of background so it all connects together on a very busy job site. So Brennan, how about telling us what it's like your first year as an apprentice, being on the job site and learning?
It's been going really well. I'm a lot more hands-on learner, so online stuff does help, but I've been learning a lot more just on the job site all day, every day.
And what kind of things do you get to do on the job site?
At the job I'm at right now, I've been putting the toe kick on the cabinets in the kitchen. I've been putting on hardware. I did some HVAC for the hood range.
And how long have you been an apprentice? When did you start, George?
I started a little over a year ago, like beginning of August last year. Before that, I had an internship in high school for about 6 months. So I did school half day, and then I did apprenticeship half day.
So you can really see the progress that you've made from last August to this August.
Oh yeah.
And when you think about that, for an employer, you always have that employee showing up your door and saying, well, I've been with you for 2 years. When do I get that raise? Now it's very measurable. You can see they've made these milestones and they've moved along. Mike, I don't want to put you on the spot, but you said you came from the background as a lead carpenter and you've acquired probably a lot of knowledge. And what's it like to be able to pass that knowledge on now to a younger crew?
In the last few years, that's really what's been driving me, because I've been in the lead carpenter role for about 20 years with Anthony Wilder for 18. I've produced over 130 jobs for Anthony Wilder in that time period. So in the last few years, I've really started to enjoy more some of the aspects of teaching others and being involved in handing down the knowledge that I've acquired over all of that job training. Whereas, you know, the day-to-day on the jobs has become the day-to-day. So I've very much enjoyed stepping into this role and picking up the guys to help through the apprenticeship program.
What about you, George? Your journeymen, are they just as excited to have an apprentice underneath of them?
Yeah, I'd say so. Having somebody who's in an official program and who's dedicated, I think helps to motivate our guys to know, okay, this person's serious. They're going to stick around. It's worth my time to be training them. Because I think, like, you know, I exhausted people over the years. Like we'd hire helpers, bring them on, and they wouldn't stick. And then you've got carpenters out in the field that are really expending a lot of mental energy training somebody, and also doing their day-to-day tasks and their work and trying to keep our clients happy. So it's juggling a lot. So I think it's really good motivation for them to see, all right, this, you know, what I'm training, the work that I'm putting into this person is going to benefit me and also the company in the future.
And the Department of Labor Maryland Department of Labor had an outside federal agency who came in and did a study. And for an apprentice that completes an apprenticeship program, their retention level is over 90%. So they really build a loyalty and a dedication to their craft and your company. So Brennan, tell us about doing the online classes. Hard, easy, learning a lot?
The first year was easier because it was just all the safety stuff and how to communicate with people. But the second year is a lot harder. It's a lot more book reading and just general knowledge.
They sent you the books, right? It was part of your program that you got the books. Mm-hmm. So Brennan is now in year 2. He is understanding construction drawings, site preparation, foundations, building materials, tools and scaffolding. I mean, if you'd like to see the curriculum, it's on our website, as well as that roadmap of OJT. And another plug, our website is marylandapprentice.org. So a question for Mike and for George. George, there's an expense in hiring an apprentice. There's going to be that tuition for year 2 and 3. There's the expense of paying somebody on the job training while they're learning. How do you justify that for your company?
Mike, you want to go first?
Sure. The justification is in the retention rate and not going through a number of people year after year. If we can hold on to them and we're not constantly trying to retrain new people, then the savings is there.
Yeah, I was going to say the exact same thing. Like I haven't sat down and like calculated what it costs to recruit, you know, hire somebody, onboard them, get them trained and embedded in our company culture. But it's a lot. I mean, it would be a lot more than the cost of this program. And it's also a lot of my time too, even, you know, termination, letting somebody go, you know, unemployment insurance, all of that stuff factors into, you know, people who are not sticking around. So, and retention is huge. I mean, it's, you know, that's a big deal. and then also, also like the grant helps, having that first year paid for is a good incentive. So the other thing to add too is that, that like my goal was to get an apprentice up and running, train them with some skills, but then have them run some independent tasks. Like, like Brandon was just saying, he's putting toe kick on cabinets, or, putting cabinet hardware on, or if somebody can, do something a little easier, like just a one-piece base, just running through the room, they can do that on their own. Like they're making money for the company. The lead can go do something else and then check up on them. So that's huge, is kind of getting them up and running early on, doing some independent tasks.
So my long-term benefit I see is that through these apprentices, we can actually change the whole industry. We could build a pipeline that in 3-5 years, somebody like Brennan will be training the next apprentice. So then it just is going to spiral, right? And ultimately, hopefully, we'd be able to take that apprentice graduate who's now a journeyman and put him into the next level of training, so that he'd be doing some project management training and building them from there. So we really just need to get this first level off the ground, get them all trained and off. Brennan, if there was somebody out there thinking, well, I don't know, should I be an apprentice or not? What would you say to them?
And if you enjoy working with your hands, it's definitely the right job for you. I knew I wasn't going to be able to sit down at the desk all day when I was in school. I knew I wanted to do some sort of trade. So if you're thinking about any trade at all, you can always try it. And if you don't like it, you can find something else to do, but it's always worth a try.
Good answer.
Yeah, that's great.
Anybody else agreeing with that desk job right now? I'm like, oh, I should have thought of other career paths.
And the great part is we're essential, right? So when everybody else is not working, we have been busier than anything. And I think that's been a challenge for us, finding employers who are really, really busy and don't have time to stop and think, oh, should I get into this apprenticeship program? But I will tell you that having a staffer like Carrie, who's the administrator for MBIA, there to help you. George, Mike, do you want to talk to what it was like onboarding your apprentice and signing up for the program, and hard, simple, where do we go from there?
I can start. I mean, that's one of the, having that back office support was one of the main reasons of, getting involved with MBIA in this program. Like I hate paperwork. Like I do not like sitting down at a desk and doing paperwork, and that would be something that would prevent me from, going forward and doing something. So just having that, Carrie and that back office support, and she's just a phone call away. Like it just made it easier and more likely for me to do the program, and I don't have to do all that stuff.
Mike, was your experience similar?
Yeah, and I kind of have this experience from two sides. I inherited a few apprentices that signed up early on, and then I also went through the process of getting some additional guys signed up as well. So when I first stepped in, not having sat down in any of the talks or understanding of what it was great to interact with Carrie to try to get me up to speed on what had come before me. And then going through the process the second time, it made it pretty seamless to kind of understand where we were heading and why.
So Carrie, do you have anything you'd like to add to our discussion here?
Yes. So, I mean, I think that it's just awesome working with, I work not so much with Brennan, but working with George and Mike on getting people signed up. And I think the biggest thing we're finding is, and we've got some other companies on deck. Once people are involved in the program, they want to keep going with it. So it's going to be, George finding someone else and seamlessly signing them up. So I think that right now seems to be where we're having our biggest success. So it's just presenting this program to other people who want to do what George and Mike are doing at their companies, And I think once we can get that, this will take off.
And as a little promotion for us, I guess 2 weeks ago, I was contacted by Lieutenant Governor Rutherford's office, and they are going to now start helping us promote the apprenticeship program. So we have big aspirations. We'd like to get 110 apprentices. So if you know somebody who wants to be an apprentice or somebody wants to hire an apprentice, please reach out. Best way to get us is through our website, marylandapprentice.org. So with that, I'm going to open it up to questions. Anyone have? Oh, Carrie, go ahead.
Yep. Let me go with one more thing, Paula. So our membership director, Chris, something came up, so he couldn't get on the call. But I did want to speak to the membership aspect of this. So obviously, some of you on the call are already members of MBIA, but some of you are not. So that is a kind of a prerequisite to the program, is a membership with MBIA. Now that said, we have a special. So if you are already not a member, which I know we have some crossover already, you would join. It's $450. There's a special, but then keep in mind, you sign that apprentice up and you're getting the $750 for that first year of their online training through Penn Foster. So, you know, we can work with you and Chris, we can figure out, you know, your membership and all of that. So just feel free to reach out to us on that. That is kind of the first step, but again, an easy step before getting everything rolling. I know you wanted me to address that, so. I didn't
Right,
want
and the toolkit for your apprentice. The way we've set that up is we will order the tools at the closest Home Depot to your apprentice, so he can just roll through and pick them up. And if they need boots, we would help with a boot stipend. So there's a lot of benefits to both the employer and the apprentice. Does anyone have questions we can field?
Paula, I have a question because it has been asked before the recording or before this presentation. What if someone is not in Maryland? Can they have an apprenticeship with the grant from Maryland and not be a resident or a business located in Maryland?
They can. The funding for this grant, although it comes to the state of Maryland, is federal funding. So the requirement for residency has been waived for our apprenticeship. The only thing that the state of Maryland said was if there is not a residential carpentry apprenticeship in your state, you're welcome to join ours. Well, there is no other, so you are welcome to join ours. So that includes Virginia, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, DC, and Delaware.
Great, thank you. Kathy, Ruth, Allison, do you guys have any questions as you're hearing this or anything that you need a little further explanation on?
Can you hear me, Angela? This is Kathy.
Yes, ma'am, we can.
Yeah, I'm curious, one, how long has the program been active? And two, is there a pay scale guideline that we have to go by as for the apprentice?
Both really good questions. We started planning for this in December of 2019. We applied to the state of Maryland in March of 2020, and we received our approval in May of 2020. So we've only been been active for just over a year.
Right.
And the pay scale is, we did an average, which is not to say that this is the pay scale that you would use, but we had to consider the entire state of Maryland. So it's half of a journeyman. And what we told the state of Maryland was we averaged a journeyman at 24. So that put an apprentice somewhere around $12 to $14. Now, again, it's half of your journeyman. So if you are in PG County, Montgomery County, where maybe the wages are a little bit higher than they would be on the Eastern Shore, it's half of your journeyman.
Okay, thank you.
Good question. Thanks, Kathy. Anybody else have questions? Allison, Ruth, do you guys have anything you?
I have another question.
That's okay. Go ahead, Kathy. It'll help everybody.
Okay. where are you getting the apprentices from? Schools or?
Right, we have reached out to several technical high schools. I've met with 2 in Anne Arundel County, 1 in Harford County, and then the community college in Anne Arundel County. I would say the majority, and Carrie, you can correct me, of the apprentices we have currently were actually identified by the employer. So they've applied for a labor job through the employer. Now the state of Maryland is prepared to help us fill those gaps, but we've not had to reach really deep, excuse me, to find apprentices. The employers have brought them forward.
Right. Is
And
there an
just-
requirement? I had known that you have to be a certain age to do construction work in Maryland.
We have, for the full apprenticeship, it's an 18-year-old, but we have a division of our apprenticeship for high school students. So that would be a 16 or 17-year-old who's working, say, summers and holidays.
Okay.
And
they
just to, oh, go
that
ahead. You go.
they will need work permits and,
Right,
okay, thank you.
right. And they have doesn't matter your age, same requirement for the number of technical hours. So they still have to do 144 of the online classes, but the OJT hours are different. So an 18-year-old or above is doing 2,000 hours per year, and a high school student is doing, I want to say 450 hours a year.
Alan's at, I
Okay.
think he's at,
We had trouble getting some young people on board because Maryland said certain ages were not allowed to work in the construction industry. So I guess it's changed for this particular program. I'm talking ages under 18.
Right, we weren't originally planning on doing high school students. The state of Maryland encouraged us to take on the high school program also. But I can double check for you, sure.
Sorry, I'm muted and trying to talk. And Paula, if you get information on that, I can forward it out to everybody who's registered for this, just so we can answer that question for everybody.
Thank you.
Kathy, anything else that comes to mind that you'd like to know? Okay,
Well, I want to give George.
I
do you
can't
have-
think of anything.
okay,
sorry,
thank you.
George, do you have final thoughts that you'd like to share about apprenticeship and your experience?
I mean, I'm just thinking of the industry as a whole, and it's like we've got two options because I mean, I just see, people are aging out, skilled people are aging out. They're not a lot left. So it's either like, we continue with this apprenticeship program, get more people in, get them trained up to fill those skilled spots, or open up floodgates of immigration and bring people in from other countries and give them guest visas, because they're going to be the ones that are going to have to fill the construction jobs. So, and I just know there are a lot of people in this country that want to work with their hands and want to learn a skill, and they just don't know how to get into the industry. So it's a really good path forward.
Are there opportunities for support between your apprentices and then the companies that are hosting or training the apprentice? Like George, do you have the ability to connect with other, like Mike or anyone else who's kind of doing the program, if you had issues or trouble or a question?
Yeah, I haven't. I think something like that would be helpful. I haven't made use of that yet, but
Yeah, I was just thinking of it. Like, I know a lot of times our members connect with each other when they're trying to figure something out. And I would think that'd be very helpful, and maybe even a group of apprentices that are going through the program to kind of work together and help each other out. But so
And
very
it's part,
cool
yeah,
program.
the apprenticeship is part of the Remodelers Council. So that Remodelers Council that meets the third Tuesday of the month at noon. You're all welcome to join with us. There is an opportunity for the employers to interact at that point. I had big dreams of social events that involved apprentices, even the apprenticeship competition where we'd have them, come and hammer boards together in a competition sort of thing. And of course, COVID slowed us down. So hopefully over the next year, we'll be able to build that apprenticeship coalition. Yeah.
And Carrie just mentioned there's a special application for this to take advantage of that discounted MBIA rate. The email or the website for marylandapprentice.org is in the chat. So Carrie, anything like that you want me to forward out, any other information, just shoot that over and I'll get it out to not just the attendees for this, but I'll send it out with the recording to anybody in our membership.
Also, another thing, Ruth and Kathy, if you're interested, and then obviously, George and Mike, if you're looking for more apprentices, if I know your location and that you're looking for someone that does, I have paired one person that reached out to me, one apprentice, with an employer who was near them. And that's what it's all about. And he's still with them and they think he's great. They did do a little probationary period, which is fair enough. You can sign up your apprentice before that period because there's a probationary period that covers you. You know what I'm saying? Within, if you've already signed them up, you're not held to anything to keep them on for 3 years or anything like that. But this one employer, he decided to do his own probationary period and it's been a huge success. So I feel like that's what it's all about too, like connecting employers with interested apprentices. So Kathy and Ruth, if you definitely are interested, that's also a first step if you don't have someone in mind already.
And
Thank you.
About the grant aspect of it, covering that they cover the fees for the first year, that gives you a little time to make sure that this is a good fit for your company without investing so much into it. So that's helpful.
And we are completely interested in diversity. So we're happy to have women, veterans, anybody who is coming out of the last year saying maybe they want to try something new and different. We're all about enthusiasm over experience. So.
Absolutely. All right. Any other questions? Okay. And just so everyone knows, we will be following up. We'll have this recording available. We will have the information that Carrie's going to provide, the application to MBIA. If you have, and then I'll send you contact information for as many of the folks on here as I can, so you can reach out to Carrie or Paula if you have any questions. George and Mike, it might be nice if you guys feel like including your information there. So if somebody has questions that they may not have been comfortable asking today or they think of later, they might reach out to you directly. If you're willing to do that, please let us know. Okay. All right. Anything else before we go? All right. Perfect. Well, I appreciate everyone's time today. Paula, your team, I appreciate you guys. It's a great partnership between our two organizations and we're really excited about that. And we just look forward to helping you. If anybody has follow-up questions or needs anything, please don't hesitate to reach out to me and I'll connect you with the correct person. All right.